Hi, today is April 7th, 2020, and it's Tuesday of Holy Week. As in yesterday's Gospel reading, we see today Jesus portrayed with an attitude of boldness, confidence, and even defiance. And this stands in stark contrast to Peter, who is accused of being a disciple of the arrested Jesus, and who denies Jesus 3 times, just as Jesus predicted he would at the Last Supper. The Gospel according to John chapter 18, beginning at the 15th verse. Glory to you, O Lord. Simon Peter and another disciple followed Jesus. Since that disciple was known to the high priest, he went with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter was standing outside the gate, so the other disciple, who was known to the high priest, went out, spoke to the woman who was guarding the gate, and brought Peter in. The woman said to Peter, "You are not also one of this man's disciples, are you?" He said, "I am not." Now the slaves and the police had made a charcoal fire because it was cold, and they were standing around it and warming themselves. Peter also was standing with them and warming himself. Then the high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and about his teaching. Jesus answered, "I have spoken openly to the world. I have always taught in synagogues and in the temple where all the Jews come together. I have said nothing in secret. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard what I said to them. They know what I said." When he had said this, one of the police standing nearby struck Jesus in the face, saying, "Is that how you answer the high priest?" Jesus answered, "If I have spoken wrongly, testify to the wrong. But if I have spoken rightly, why do you strike me?" Then Annas sent him bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself. They asked him, "You're not also one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it and said, "I am not." One of the slaves of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, "Didn't I see you in the garden with him?" Again Peter denied it, and at that moment the cock crowed. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. What a study in contrasts. It was only a few hours before, at the Last Supper of Jesus and his disciples, that Peter told Jesus, "I will lay down my life for you." Now, in contrast, Peter tells the people standing around the fire, there in the high priest's courtyard, that he is not a follower of Jesus. Jesus is with the high priest telling the truth, while in contrast, Peter is with the slaves and the police telling lies. Jesus is speaking openly, while in contrast, Peter is trying his best to hide, to remain anonymous. And yet Peter is here, while in contrast the other disciples have run off. Peter is loyal to Jesus. He's willing to draw his sword and fight a few moments ago, while in contrast he now seems cold and tired, drained of the sudden rush of adrenaline that led him to bravely draw his sword in the garden just a few minutes before. Maybe I'm swayed by the spy novels I've read and the suspense movies I've watched, but part of me wonders about Peter's discipleship denials, about Peter's loyalty, about Peter's reason for being there in the high priest's courtyard in the first place. The high priest's courtyard. It's almost as if Peter has suddenly snuck in behind enemy lines, like he's infiltrated the enemy that has just arrested his friend. Maybe Peter is trying to stay hidden in the darkness